Today is Friday, October 18th, 2019. Happy birthday, Mrs. Posta.
Thank you.
Hopefully, only Rachel is disappointed because she thought she heard me say yesterday that I might not be here because of the field trip. We're not leaving until a little after 10 now, so hopefully you're not with Rachel and just, oh man, I thought he was going to be here. We weren't going to have regular math, but here I am. Elisa's like, how'd he read my mind? Okay, cut, here we go. Yesterday, all you had to do was finish page 131, and then we got to move on. I think I already did this on the board yesterday. Your field trip was going to cost $256 total. You had 32 people going. How much was each ticket? You found out it was $8. Number 6, the sum of 10 times the number and 5 is negative 15. Whoops. Is that what it says? Yeah, it is negative 15. Where's my eraser? Get this, when I was in this building, when I was this age, Dina's dad was a student in this building.
He was a student? He was a teacher at one time, too.
No, but he was a student when I was that age. Student teaching at the old Columbiana High School.
I was a teacher in high school.
Yeah,
The old Columbiana.
Right, but when it was Columbiana. Yes, Rachel. I was in Mrs. Hamilton's room right across from the band room. Yeah.
I'm confused at number 6.
Okay, the sum of 10 times the number and 5 is negative 15. The sum of 10 times the number and 5 is negative 15. By the way, your quizzes are over there. We've got to get this fixed, ladies and gentlemen. There's still too many people not understanding the rules of adding integers. If the signs are the same, just add them together and keep the sign. If the signs are different, find the difference. We're not doing that, some of us. And then you keep the sign of the larger. I have to subtract 5 from both sides here because they added 5. Also, I'm seeing some of this. Like we're confusing, when I say subtract and he's actually adding the negative, you're making it too complicated. If it says plus 5, just subtract 5. 10x over here. Whatever I do to one side of an equal sign, I got to do to the other. Minus 5. What's negative 15 minus 5? Listen, if you're still a little bit confused and fuzzy on the rules, I keep mentioning temperature because I think that can help you focus. If it's negative 15 degrees outside and it goes down 5 degrees, what's the temperature going to be? Negative 20. It's not going to get warmer. It goes down 5. Now, how do I get rid of the 10? So x equals negative 2.
What number was that? 6.
15.
He was talking about that.
Oh, okay.
That's what the problem said.
Oh.
I know, I put
10
positive
times,
15.
the sum of 10 times the number and 5 is negative 15. Number 7. The difference of 4 times the number and negative 7 is 39. The difference, something's going to be subtracted, of 4 times the number, now watch this, and, doesn't say 7, it says negative 7. Stop right there. Read this. The difference of 4 times the number and
Negative 7.
is what? Read that for me.
Is 39.
Is that really what it says? I don't remember that.
Yeah,
It's 39.
It's 39. Okay, what do I do with this right here? This is 4x minus negative 7, which is actually 4x plus 7.
No.
No. Listen.
Oh, because
Watch.
I have.
You sure?
Yeah, I remember.
Because you have to change the last two signs. You're adding the opposite.
Yeah, I forgot.
Okay, so if this is actually 4x plus 7, how do I get rid of the 7? Subtract 7. Now I got 4x. Subtract 7. What's x equal? 8. By the way, what's 10 times negative 2? What's negative 20 plus 5? Negative 15. If it was negative 20 outside and it went up 5 degrees, it'd be up to negative 15. What's 4 times 8?
32.
What's 32 minus negative 7? What's 32 plus 7? You got to make sure that your solution is correct. And number 8, Mary wants to buy a bike that costs $280. Her parents agree to pay half. How much is she starting with? She's starting with $140. How much does the bike cost in total? I should have started like I always do. She's starting with $140. She needs to add to that $20 per week. They say, how long will it take her? I'm going to let X equal number of weeks. How much does she get a week? Or is she saving? She has 140. Her parents are giving her that. $20 times each week. 20x equals, if I subtract, that's 140. X equals 7. It's going to take her 7 weeks to get the bike. Yes?
What I did, I didn't realize how to do it like that. I already pre-subtracted, and I did 20x equals
Right.
140.
Right. I mean, it's the same thing, right? But we're on a focus here this week on writing the algebraic equation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I couldn't do that shortcut because I need you to keep practicing translating what you're seeing in a paragraph and translating it into, hey, all those words can be condensed into one mathematical sentence, algebraic equation. Turn the page. At one point, we were going to work on page 133. We'll go back to it sometime because I do like to pause every once in a while and just work on solving problems like you see on 133. But since we got a little behind, we got to move. Geometric formulas. And they start us with two that you're very familiar with. Perimeter and area. How do you find the perimeter of any polygon? Somebody raise your hand and refresh the class. How do you find the perimeter of any polygon? Rachel? Nope.
2.
Nope. You do not do length times width.
I said length times 2.
No. No. Think
Oh,
more.
that's
Fine.
okay. You add 2 sides together, and then you do the side.
Okay, let her
And then
think her way through this.
okay.
Rachel, it's not length times width times 2. It's length. That's only for a rectangle, though. So for any polygon, how do we find the perimeter? Maybe you need to be refreshed on what a polygon is. A polygon is many sides. More than, well, if it's closed figure, it's going to have more than 2 sides. So starting with a triangle, how do we find the perimeter of a triangle, Rachel? I'm sticking with Rachel here.
Oh, don't you do that B and H thing?
Okay, you're confusing the area and the perimeter again. How do you find the perimeter, Rachel, of any polygon, starting with a triangle? Perimeter is perimeter everything inside the boundary, or is perimeter what? Okay. So how do you find the perimeter of a triangle? Okay, let me just draw. This is side A, B, C. How would I find the perimeter of that triangle? Add them all up. And Rachel, actually, if it was a rectangle and I wanted to find the perimeter of the rectangle, I could actually just add them all up, A plus B plus C plus D. But they gave us a nice little formula for the rectangle, and they said that the perimeter was 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Or, if you're like me, you prefer thinking of it like that. Because all you got to do is know length and width. You're halfway around, so multiply that by 2. But Rachel, where you went wrong, it's like a little thing, but a big thing. You said length times width times 2. Length plus width times 2. All right? Big difference between perimeter and area. Perimeter is if I wanted to put border around the wall to cover all the way around the room. That would be perimeter. If I wanted to put new carpet or tile on the floor, what would I have to know? Area. Area is simply in here, length times width. You might need refreshed on the area. This would be perimeter is A plus B plus C. You might need refreshed on the area of a rectangle or a triangle. What would the area of a triangle be? A few hands are up. I'm going to try to lead you there in case you forgot or maybe never learned it. Where's my flag? Watch this. Rectangle, and I made a dotted line, which is a diagonal, from one corner to the other. What did I just create inside that rectangle? 2 triangles. So raise your hand and tell me if you remember the area of a triangle, and we'll see how it relates to the area of a rectangle. They're actually kind of related. Casey?
Isn't it like A times B?
No. Now you're getting to volume. When you multiply all 3 together, 3 dimensions together, now you're talking about volume. How much it'll hold. Spence.
1/2 times B times H.
Okay. The area of a rectangle is 1/2 B times H. Now, you're asking, what's it have to do with a rectangle? Instead of calling it length, they call it base. Instead of calling it width, they call it height. And when I made the diagonal, what did I make?
Triangle.
And what would we know about those 2 triangles? They're exactly the same area. So a triangle is half of a rectangle. And all they did was change the word from length and width to base and height. Does that make sense? See this? Length, it's the base of this triangle right here. This triangle number 1. Base, height, length, width. And it's half of what the rectangle would be. So the area of a triangle is half the area of a rectangle. Because when you draw that diagonal, you've made 2 triangles. Yes?
So if you had, so you just take either side of the triangle for the height?
So if I had
Yeah.
a right triangle, are you saying, does it matter which one's the base and the height?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, the base is always the bottom. But can you pick either side of the triangle for height?
Did you hear the question? There's 3 sides to a triangle. Kiara's question's a good one. It says, the base is the bottom. She gets that, the base, right? Does it matter which other side you multiply by? The answer is yes. Because in a right triangle, the height of it is established for us. The height is a straight line from the bottom to the top. This is not the height. This line here doesn't give us the height because it's slanted. Does that make sense? Now let's go to this triangle. They're both slanted. If this is the base of this triangle, and I was trying to find the area of that, how would I do it? I'm supposed to do the base times the height and then cut it in half, divide it by 2. How can I do that with this triangle? This one, the base and the height are kind of right there for me. Base straight up to the height. This one, the sides are slanted. It doesn't tell me the height. How do I figure that out? How do I fix that situation? Listen, if I had somebody stand up here and I measured their height, don't you have to stand straight? If I had them come up here and I slanted them this way, would that be their height? No, that's not a true indicator of their height if they're standing off to the side. So how would I figure out the height of that triangle, Jonathan?
Put a line down the middle so you have 2 right.
I have to create another, and they always indicate it with a dotted line because it's kind of an imaginary line, but it tells me how high the triangle is from the base to the top. It has to be a, what's that P word that forms a right angle? Not parallel, but long, weird word. Has to be a perpendicular line to get me straight up to figure out the height. So, Kiara, the question is, you can't use this as your height. It has to be a perpendicular line.
How do you know what?
If it's not there, you actually have to measure it. And the problems you'll have in your book, they'll create that line for you. And that'll be the height. Does that make sense? Everybody got it?
Yeah.
You're not in La La Land?
No.
Yeah. All right, let's dive in. Page 137. To find the area of a triangle, number 1, you need to know the length of what do you need to know to find the area of a triangle? We just went over it. Base and height. Number 2, find the area and perimeter of that figure. Go. We're working quickly. We want you to be able to figure out number 2 in 1 minute. 30 seconds to find the perimeter, 30 seconds to find the area. It's a 6 by 4 rectangle. You should be able to do it, actually, both of them in 20 seconds. I can name that tune, and we should play Name That Tune. I can give you that answer in 5 seconds. I can give you that answer in 3 seconds. What's the answers to number 2, 137? What is the perimeter of that rectangle, and what is the area? Perimeter of a rectangle is add the length plus the width and multiply it by 2. Small numbers, it's going to give you a nice round answer. Casey says the perimeter of it is 20. 6 plus 4, 10 times 2, perimeter is 20. What's the area? Area is even simpler to figure out. It's length times width. Bella says the big thing you got to remember when you're doing perimeter and area is the perimeter would have been 20 inches and the area would be 24 square inches because it's not linear. The area is a bunch of squares all around, just like the square tiles you see below you. Area is square units. Number 3. I can name that. I can give you that perimeter and area in 6 seconds. Somebody beat it? You can do it in 4 seconds?
I did it in 2.
You can do it in 2?
I can do it.
That'd be pretty good.
0.1.
Lauren, what's the perimeter of that square? 8. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, or 2 plus 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, or they give you a special formula if it's a square. The perimeter is just 4 times the side. 4 times 2 is 8. What's the area of that square? For what?
3
4
centimeters.
centimeters.
4 squared centimeters or squared. Number 4. Okay. I can name that perimeter and area in 30 seconds.
What?
Number 4. It's triangle. It's a little harder.
Oh, I know.
Number 4, the perimeter of that triangle is, Rachel said, to find the perimeter of any polygon, you just add up the sides. A plus B plus C.
So don't you do 98 divided by half? Because it multiplies base?
We're talking perimeter first. Here's what you're gonna do, Rachel.
Then
Rachel.
add them.
Rachel, do you have access to a phone, iPad, anything like that at home?
No.
Okay, you're gonna record yourself or your sibling, and they're gonna say, you're gonna record, it's gonna be like a 10-second recording. It's gonna say, perimeter is this, and area is that, and you're gonna go to sleep listening to that all night. Do it at your grandparents. Do it at your grandparents. All right, what's the area or the perimeter? Perimeter, Jaden, of that triangle? 36 what? Meters. What's the area of that triangle? Kiera, am I going to do 12 times 9 or 12 times 15? Yes, I got to do 12 times 9 because that's the line that goes straight up and tells me how high it is. The 15 slanted. That doesn't give me a true indicator of height. So I got to do 12 times 9 and then cut it in half. But you know what Mr. Franken does? Because multiplication is commutative.
Yeah.
If you're doing 1/2 times base times height, listen, this will help you out, especially if you like mental math. Choose the path that's going to give you the easiest way to figure it out mentally. Instead of doing 9, where's that? Instead of doing 9 times 12 and then cutting it in half, you know what I did? I cut the 12 in half first because I can do that real quick in my head. What's half of 12?
6.
What's 9 times 6? 54. Now, you could have done 9 times 12 and then cut it in half and got 54 because 9 times 12 is 108. Half of that's 54. But since it's commutative and it's 1/2 base times height, whatever is easiest for you. You could either multiply the base and height, cut it in half, or take half of the base or half the height. See what I did? Since one of them was 12, I thought, oh, I know easily half of 12 is 6. 9 times 6, 54. Got it? Okay. What do we got there? Somebody redid their patio. Find the area of the patio shown at the right. That is not a rectangle and it's not a triangle. How, pray tell, am I supposed to find the area of that patio?
Do the square and then the rectangle.
Did you hear that? If you notice the patio in number 5, if you look to the right, they've got a dotted line. You see that? And what they've created is a rectangle on the left and a square on the right. So you find the area of the rectangular space, you find the area of the square space, and you add them together. So the rectangle is a 7 by 6. What's the area?
They don't have that one side.
It's a 7 by 6. What's the area? No, Rachel, listen. They do tell us the sides of the rectangle. 7 on top, 6 on the left. So it's a 7 by 6. What's its area? 42 square yards. Now look at the square. It's a 3 by 3. A square is a rectangle, remember? So length times width, or side squared. 3 squared is 9. What's the total area, Seth? 51 square yards. Your job is 6 through 14, page 137. That's it. 6 through 14, that's 9 problems. For those of you that think that's 8, because 6 and 14 is, the difference is 8. Remember, you got to count the 6, so it's 9 problems. And you got 12 minutes and 14 seconds. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we should have
The game tonight, the game of the week. So you're not going to be at the same.
Happy birthday!
I do YSN, not the TV.
How was your birthday? It's going to. So, we have to contact Well, today's a magic art.
Number 6, it's a triangle. The triangle has 3 sides, 5, 5, and 6. The base is 6. Neither side can be counted as the height because they're slanted. They've provided for you a perpendicular line going from the base to the top. Did they tell you what it was? Yeah.
Yeah,
They told you it was 4 centimeters, so they're giving you the height.
I know, but like, you look at 4 and ask.
I don't know. If you're finding area, dear, you shouldn't be using the 5s at all. You're only using the 5s to find the perimeter. The 5s have nothing to do with area, because they're not the base or the height. What's that? 3 points each, dear.
Good job, Jay. Like,
16.
Oh.
8 minutes and 14 seconds Oh, you got funny on those? Nobody's asked me any questions about number 9, 10, 11.
I would like to be corrected. Because they're not hard.
I'm not touching up on What's the true height?
Like, did you want number 2? Stay in geometry, that's the no. What's your grade in geometry?
My big worry is,
What?
we're gonna take away.
You know, I not see you going back. I don't. I you did. Not know. Yeah.
They said he solved it.
No,
The third person.
yeah, they really do.
It's a prank. It's
Well,
not like-
let's go. You want to wear
Okay, hold up. I am hearing some very disturbing things coming out of the, Preston. I'm hearing very disturbing language coming out of the crowd. I'm hearing the word area associated with something plus something plus something. The perimeter of a triangle is A plus B plus C. The area is when you multiply the length and the width, or base and height. And if it's a rectangle, all you do is multiply those two numbers. If it's a triangle, you take half of those two numbers multiplied. Now, no one's asking me about 9, 10, or 11, which is interesting because you have to find the unknown. That's a different thing than what we've talked about so far. I find it hard to believe that everybody understands how to find the unknown, say in number 9. They tell you the area is 18. They give you one of the sides, 6, but they don't give you the x. How do you find the area of a rectangle? What's the area of a rectangle? Length times width. So how do they get to 18? It's length times width. Hello? 6x equals 18. Divide by 6, divide by 6, x equals 3. That's number 9.
Is number 16 centimeters?
Absolutely. Because the perimeter is the 5 plus the 5 plus the 6.
And then it's the area
The area is 12 centimeters squared. Absolutely. Because you had to do the 4 times 6. Half of it. It's kind of toasty.
You're wearing a jacket.
It is the coolest it's been all year.
No, yesterday was.
Many days you guys say it's chilly. It's like 71.9 or 73. It's actually only 70 today.
At least it wasn't playing football.
Yesterday was 69.
Did you study?
Really? BB stars.
I know. Study it. So.
Oh, I want to study it.
You guys 16 each?
You want to take the quiz?
Sure. I'll be actually. Honestly, yeah.
Okay, page 137, 6 through 14. See you next week. Yeah, Monday. Actually, your last recorded grade for pre-algebra will be Monday, because you'll come in Monday and I'll say, did you do your homework? Like, did you really do your homework? And if it's all completed, there's your free 5 points. Santa Claus is coming to town. You didn't do it, then you're like, I didn't need those points. And then the grade book will be closed for quarter 1, and you'll be 3 quarters away from high school, some of you.
Are
we turning it into you?
No, I'm not afraid.